Hello everyone, welcome back to The Budget Sportsman. Today I'm going to share with you my thoughts on the best budget rangefinder for 2023. Now if you've been around my channel for a while, then you may know that this video has become nearly an annual tradition. You may also remember that for the last couple of years I've been really disappointed with the budget options that have been available, and after each video I ended up deciding to stick with my very old but very trusty Bushnell Chuck Adams Edition rangefinder that I've had for probably at least 10 or 12 years now. Well, the good news is that this year I actually have a great option for a budget rangefinder. In fact, even though it comes in as one of the cheapest rangefinders that I've ever tested, in my opinion, it absolutely takes the competition by storm. So with all of that out of the way, let's dive into our first rangefinder of our 2023 comparison. So first up is this model from Wosports. This is the H-111 Camo-B. Now you may remember that in a previous video I tested a Wosports rangefinder that did not have angle compensation. So when Wosports reached out to me to ask me to test another model, I made it abundantly clear that I was only interested if this model had angle compensation. As a bow hunter, this feature is incredibly important to me. Unfortunately, when it arrived, I discovered that this model does not have angle compensation. Wosports told me they would send me the correct model, but that never happened. I do believe that Wosports does offer a similar rangefinder to this with angle compensation, but unfortunately, I don't have that model to test. Now, the model that I have in front of me here is rated for 800 yards, and I do like that the button layout is right where you would expect, as pretty much all of these rangefinders have today. The power button and range button is in the back, and the mode button is in the front. And they do provide a nice tactile feedback when pressed. It reads out in 1/10 of a yard increments, and it also offers a scan mode, which works just fine. Now, another interesting feature that I noticed on the Wosports is that it does offer a tripod mount on the bottom of the rangefinder. This is a feature that I guess I personally have never used, but I could see it as an ideal way to attach it to a tripod or even use accessories like a grip or maybe even a lanyard. Unfortunately, this rangefinder suffers from the same problems as many budget models. It just feels bulky in the hands. It's quite thick, and while the corners are a bit rounded over, for the most part, it's just quite boxy and large and doesn't feel that great in my hands. Next up is the AOFar Hx-1100V. And this rangefinder does offer angle compensation. However, unlike most of the rangefinders that I've tested, it only reads out in whole yard increments, not in 1/10 of a yard increments. I also noticed that while it does seem to have angle compensation, no matter what angle I held this rangefinder, my unit always reads an angle of 4.8 degrees. So overall in my testing, I found the yardages to be slightly off when comparing it to the other units that I tested for this video. And I found that the angle compensation is totally useless since it reads the same angle no matter how you're holding the rangefinder. Now, one thing that I do appreciate about the AOFar is that the focus wheel eyepiece here is relatively small, it's thin, and it has resistance to turn. It feels less likely to be bumped out of focus coming in or out of your pocket or the case, and I really do appreciate that. The buttons are placed just how you would expect them to be, but unfortunately they have a much more mushy feel to them. I'm going to let you hear it. I don't know if you can hear that or not. It just has a much more mushy feel, and I definitely prefer a little bit more of a click to the buttons of my rangefinder. Just like the Wosports, the AOFar suffers from that same bulky design. It's kind of thick in this dimension, and it does have angled corners here. Now, it does have a bit of a nicer feel to the exterior, a little bit of a rubberized feel, and that feels okay. It just overall just feels bulky in my hands, and combined with the mushy buttons, just doesn't have a great feel. Finally on the table today, we have the TideWe HR-F700. The 700 implies a ranging distance of 700 yards, but there's also a 1,000-yard version available as well. Now, this rangefinder was one that was recommended over and over to me on previous rangefinder videos, and to be honest, I was a bit skeptical. But when I got my hands on it last summer, I have to admit, I was pretty impressed. So what do I like about the TideWe rangefinder? First, it has the best ergonomics of any budget rangefinder I've ever tested, hands down. It's just a little bit smaller. It has a really nice rounded profile all the way around that gives it a really pleasant shape. And it also has just the right contour here to fit nicely in between my thumb and my fingers here in the palm of my hand. Fits really, really well. It does have angle compensation that functions correctly, has scan mode, and it can read yardages down to 1/10 of a yard as opposed to whole increments. The button placement is just right, exactly where you would expect it to be, and the buttons to me have the perfect amount of that click or tactile feedback. It's not overly clicky, but it's definitely not mushy. If all of that isn't enough, the TideWe Rangefinder has a built-in rechargeable battery, and it recharges with a USB-C charging cable right here on the back. Personally, that's a big advantage for me over the CR2 batteries that are used in the rest of these rangefinders that I never seem to have on hand when I actually need them. Now, I've gotten some questions about the battery life of the TideWe Rangefinder, and I can say this, I've been using this TideWe all last summer for all my archery practice, and I use it all through this past hunting season for all of my hunts, and my battery indicator that shows up inside when you look through the rangefinder is still showing that I have 3 out of 4 bars of battery. Now, to top it all off, the TideWe HR-F700 is very affordable. Now, the price does fluctuate from time to time, but commonly you can find it on TideWe's website for about $70. And then in addition to that, I do have a coupon code for you that will save you 18%. So if you use coupon code TBS18, you can save 18% off the price when you purchase your rangefinder. If you wait around for it to go on sale and then add the coupon code, you can often get this rangefinder for just over $50. Now, full disclosure, if you use that coupon code, I do receive a small commission. So you may be thinking, does this guy really like this TideWe rangefinder, or is he just trying to sell me on it to get his commission? Well, if you remember all of my past videos, I passed over all the rangefinders, most of which I got for free, to keep using my old trusty Bushnell Chuck Adams Edition rangefinder. Well, for the first time this year, the Bushnell stayed in my closet. In fact, I had to go dig it out and try to find it for this video, while the TideWe rangefinder went with me to the range or to the woods. This rangefinder just checks all the boxes for me without the sacrifices of a typical budget rangefinder. In fact, it was even the rangefinder that I selected to take with me on my very first elk hunt. And I can assure you that I wasn't looking to cut any corners on that hunt. If you're interested in the TideWe, I do have a full review on my channel. It's going to be up here in the corner. You can check it out there. If you're interested in a budget rangefinder, I can tell you this. This is the first rangefinder that I've ever tested on a budget that I really feel confident in recommending to you, my viewers. So I'd recommend going over to TideWe's website and checking it out. I'll leave a link down in the description. Let me know what you think of this video down in the comments. And until next time, remember to get off YouTube and get outdoors into God's great creation.